federal budget is just around the corner, and you're about to find out how much all this spending is going to cost you. You're going to see terms thrown around like deficits and debt servicing and operational versus capital. So let's take a few moments to break everything down so that when you see that budget, you know exactly what everyone's talking about. Now, I know we're discussing some dry and technical terms, so throughout this video, I'll be showing you some amazing videos just to make it all worthwhile.
See ya.
I believe you're going to see a lot about these 5 terms. I think it's important that we all understand exactly what they mean so that you can decide whether or not this budget actually works for you.
And I don't want to characterize the deficit other than what I've already said. It's substantial.
Starting with number 1. Deficit. What does that actually mean? Well, it's pretty simple. If the government spends more than it takes in, it's in deficit. So for example, let's just say the federal government collects $300 billion in taxes, but spends $350 billion. Well, then it would have a deficit of that difference. The deficit then would be $50 billion. The government spent $50 billion more than it took in. So where does that other $50 billion come from? Well, now we move into term number 2, the debt. Every year the government runs a deficit, it has to go and borrow that money. So the government of Canada literally goes out into the bond markets and writes IOUs and borrows money against them. Who lends them the money? Bankers and bondholders. So that's the difference between deficit and debt. The deficit is the yearly amount that the government spends more than it takes in, and the debt is all that accumulation. That brings me to term number 3, debt servicing. What does debt servicing mean? Well, just like when you carry a balance on your credit card, or if you have that line of credit, every month you have to pay interest. You're not paying back any of the money that you borrowed, you're just paying the bank for the privilege of them lending you the money. That's basically the fee, the cost of borrowing. So every time you see that bank statement where you're paying interest charges, the government has the exact same thing. They have to pay all the investment funds and all the wealthy people who have enough money to lend to the government. They have to pay them the interest on that debt. So all that costs on paying the interest on the debt get added on to the deficit every single year. The government spends more than it takes in. It's money that doesn't go to better services for you. It doesn't build up our communities. It just evaporates. It doesn't even evaporate. It gets transferred into the pockets of wealthy individuals and institutional lenders. That's a fancy word for the banks and the hedge funds. Now I know that some of these terms can be dry, but the reason why it's dry, the reason why sometimes it's hard to follow all these terms is because that's the way they want it. They actually benefit when people have their eyes glazed over and they think, well, these are big numbers I don't want to have to wrap my head around. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So here's Margot Robbie in a bathtub to help explain it.
Basically, Louis Rainieri's mortgage.
Just kidding, still me in a suit. But anyway, now this brings me to term number 4, operational versus capital. Now, this is actually where Mark Carney's trying to pull a fast one on you. You see, Mark Carney's deficit is going to be bigger than even Justin Trudeau's. Here's what he's gonna do. He's gonna bring in this phony accounting system where he's gonna label a whole bunch of spending as capital. Now, what we all need to remember is capital spending is on things, it's assets, it's stuff that produces a return on that investment or that physically exists that a government could sell if it ever needed to pay back those bondholders. What Mark Carney's going to do is he's going to take a whole bunch of spending that doesn't actually build things, that doesn't actually improve the lives of Canadians, and he's going to try to label that as capital spending. Here's the thing though, the bondholder who lent the money to the government in the first place doesn't care what Mark Carney calls it. He's still gonna want his interest payments. If you tried to do what Mark Carney's trying to do, that would mean you'd go into your bank and you try to get a better rate or not have to pay some of the money back and say, well, a lot of this money is being spent on things that I call capital, like subscription TV services or luxury goods. The bank wouldn't care. They literally wouldn't care what you and your family call every expense. They just know you owe them money, you need to pay it. It's exactly the same with the federal government. Not only are you going to pay for these massive deficits and the borrowing costs with your direct tax dollars, they're literally going to take money off your paycheck to pay those bankers and bondholders, but you're also going to pay for it in higher prices, because every time the government floods the economy with brand new money, prices go up. Every time the government has to go out and borrow 50, 60, 70 billion dollars, they have to borrow it from people who have money. How does this affect you? Well, when you go to renew your mortgage, you are now competing with the government to borrow that money. So the bankers and bondholders would way rather lend it to the government. So for you to be able to borrow it, you have to pay a premium. You literally have to compete with your own government to borrow funds, to buy a house, to build a business. So just remember, when you hear all these terms and you see all these big dollar amounts, the bottom line is this: you will pay more. Mark Carney will not, and the biggest winners out of all of this are his friends on Bay Street, his literal colleagues at investment funds. This is who Mark Carney is. This is the world he comes from. That's already happening under Mark Carney. Liberal insiders getting big, fat paychecks. More and more of your tax dollars go to bankers and bondholders, and Mark Carney hopes the whole time that you won't pay attention. So over the next few days and weeks, keep in mind, every time the government talks about money it's spending, it's coming off your paycheck. Every time conservatives talk about deficits and debt, it's because we don't want your dollars going to pay those bankers and bondholders. See, Mark Carney is counting on you not paying attention. He wants you to believe that all these things are very complicated when in fact they're very simple. No matter what, you pay. And as always, thanks for watching. And something's going on with our YouTube channel, so please do me a favor. Please like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below. I actually go through the comments, and if you've got an idea for a future video, write it down below and I'll see what I can do.